thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. So I'm busy doing research on how we learn, we and also our students, and whether and how much technology plays a part in that, and whether we can learn effectively with technology or not. So thank you. I just need to say that it is obviously recorded, but you will not personally, I won't say Morgan said this, I will say interviewee number one said this when I have to say something that you have said. And I'm just doing it in two ways so that, if one bombs, then I have another way to look at the transcripts. So there are some questions that I'm going to go around and ask each one of you, and others just open and you can just jump in and answer. So I think to just start off, I just want to go around and just ask each one of you, how do you learn? Do you just use paper? Do you learn from a computer screen? Did you print? How do you go about it? So Zander, let's start with you.
Yeah, so mine's kind of a mixed method.
Okay.
I don't like my own handwriting, so my notes were always typed, but I studied from paper. I can't study from a screen.
Right.
But I'll not make notes, but highlight on it, make arrows with a pen. But it has to be like typed and neat and
okay.
Yeah. So that was so I always start summaries and then
from there. Yeah. Okay. So you use the computer to do the summaries.
To do the summaries, yeah. But I also found it easier because then when you move from first to second year, you can build on the previous year by taking that summary and then just adding on. So you don't have to redo everything.
I understand. And your textbooks, were they hard copy or did you have soft copy? Hard copy.
Yeah. Most of ours weren't available as soft copy, but we had it in high school for IT where we didn't have the option.
Right.
And I printed everything because it's, unless you have, I don't know, a very big iPad or something, it's very difficult if you want to look at page 5 and page 500 at the same time. When you kind of follow principle through, you flip through the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I was actually also mixed method, but more the opposite way. So I used to take class notes on an iPad.
Right.
In class right from first year.
Okay.
And then I would transfer those notes neatly onto hard copy notes at home. So I had, talking about the files, building on each year, I would have a physical file that I build on each year. So if you're doing PPE in first year, then that would be my starting point for PPE notes second year and so on and so on. But in class I would follow with that lecture slides and make notes on my iPad in the class.
Okay.
Textbooks also hard copy all the time, but up until CTA, all my summaries were in hard copy, but I used to prefer to work through the material on the electronic version first.
Okay.
So yeah, it's also a mixed method, but more the opposite way. Yeah.
And on the iPad, what apps or something did you use for that, or just
so the one I used a lot was Notability. It is a paid, I think it's like $1 or something, but that was very nice because if you want to do like example record, as the lecturer is saying, take from column 1 to column 2 as you write, then when you play it, it replays the audio and your writing comes back as you were writing. So that was quite nice. And you can also, if you have to take a picture of a solution in class, you can just copy that into your stuff. So that was nice to have everything in once, and then when I go home, it's all on the summary at the end. So then that was the end of the electronic stuff, and it served its purpose for that. So that was the app I used the most. Notability. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you. Rashmita?
Mine was everything hard copy. So
Okay.
I didn't use everything was printed out.
Right.
My notes was handwritten.
Okay.
Then I would take from the slides, transfer it to my notebook. So everything was in my notebook.
Okay.
If I wanted something, I used to cut, paste it, everything. I used to record some lectures, so that was where technology came in, but it was very little.
Okay.
So it was mostly hard copy.
And in class as well, you didn't have
Nothing.
laptops
I used
or
to write down
anything?
everything, yeah.
Okay.
Print out my slides and then write on them.
Okay. Cool.
So what I used to do is when we, in undergrad, when we didn't have slides printed, I would have the slides on my tablet, and then I'd write notes there. And then what I started to do is when things did get printed, or when I had gotten the slides before in undergrad, I'd print 2 copies, and then 1 copy I'd use to make notes during class, and then I'd transfer those same notes but neatly onto my slides, because I only wanted 1 piece of material as my study notes. So anything in the module, I would either, if it was something small, I'd put a note there, otherwise I would also go and cut and paste. So my one like study material was my slides, and then everything else came in there. So even textbooks, I'd go and photocopy an example or something in the textbook, and then I'd cut that out and stick it on, and I'd say like a refer to Appendix A, and that would be at the back.
Yeah.
So that was, I think everything for me was also quite hard copy.
Okay.
Even when it came to questions, I would choose certain questions that I'd print out, and then I'd do those hard copy. So where technology did play a role was when undergrad, when it wasn't printed, then I'd make notes on the on my tablet, and then I'd just put them onto a hard copy later on.
Okay. Cool.
So I liked also the technology with like the iPad, because I like to type it, because then it's on one thing. So when I did my notes on the physical, then I only had one set of physical written notes. I have to write, so for me I had to use all my senses. I had to use my handwriting, colour, hearing it, so I spoke when I studied, and so my parents always asked, who are you talking to? Because I felt like if you heard it and you saw it and you said it, more, you understood it more. And even like with memos of today, I have to write it physically next to it, because I think I identify with my handwriting more than anything else, and for my own colours. Because if it's on here, you don't relate to it as much. Like even when doing memos, it's harder because it's not in front of you and you're not physically doing it with your hand.
Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. So apart from learning, what devices do you have in your possession? Apart from the laptops.
Okay, I have a phone, laptop, and a tablet.
Okay. And which one do you use the most?
My phone.
Is it specifically for learning or just general?
No, just in general.
Yeah, my phone as well.
Phone.
Laptop.
So that's definitely laptop.
Is
But,
it?
yeah, but okay, I've got my WhatsApp on my laptop as well, so
Okay. Yes. Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
like this year especially, like my phone just lies in the office.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
I mean, even I have. And you, Ishika?
Phone.
Phone.
Yeah.
Phone as well. Okay.
I think
Can you
that's
show?
I think that's debated in the last few weeks. The phone is kind of there, and everyone's like, "Why don't you respond?" Well,
It's not the last few weeks.
it's not okay. That's out of person.
Yeah, I know. Okay, I just want to ask you how eager you are to adopt new technology. So I've got a few categories here. So the first one is, do you feel that you're an innovator? So they are the front runners. They will test new technology. They will, try it out when it's new. So that's an innovator. Then we have an early adopter. So early adopter is just after the innovator, but it has been accepted, it has been tested, and you feel, okay, shit, I'm gonna use it. Then we have the early majority. So I think after the early adopters, when most people are accepting the new technology, you feel strongly, yes, I can also go and use it. Then there's the late majority, so not so comfortable with technology, want to make sure that it has been tested, that other people have tried it out, and then you'll actually start using it. And then lastly, do you feel that you're a laggard? So a laggard is somebody that does not want to use technology and will try as far as possible not to use it. My mom is a laggard, okay? My father has to type the SMS messages that she sends us. So she's
She has to say that being irritating.
and she's got 6 grandsons, and all 6, except the last one who's still small, all of them have tried to teach grandma how to SMS, and nobody has succeeded.
Maybe it's a bit younger.
Yeah. Okay, so Xander, can I start with you again? Where do you feel you are?
Innovator, I think.
And you can confirm, as you know each other very well.
What do you guys
feel?
think?
Yeah.
Thank you, Renee. So?
I think the second one, early adopter. So I'm fairly, as long as it's been tested, I'm fairly comfortable trying out new
things.
Yeah, but not going out right from the beginning.
Okay. Cool.
Early majority.
You?
I think I'm early majority too.
Okay.
I only start to use like a new technology when I hear people speaking about the new cool things that it has to offer and how to make my life easier. Other than that, if it's something new and it's not going to give me like, I always look at like rewards, you know, like cost versus benefits. So how much time is it going to take versus how much easier will it make my life? So that's why once I know, like everyone says, oh, this is really cool, it makes playlists for you, then I'm like, yes, I'm on board.
Okay. And you, Morgan?
I think early adopter.
Okay.
I like trying new things. It's cool to kind of figure it out, but it depends how much time I have. So if I have a lot of time, then I will try anything. But if I have limited time, then I'll go with what's more reliable and quicker. So it just depends.
Cool. Great. Okay. You all know that we're in this fourth industrial revolution, and the labour market is going to change so significantly, and we're all not sure exactly how it is going to change. But what skills do you think accountants will need going into the future?
I think the ability to think strategically and innovatively, I think, is a huge skill, because I call it, and I think it is definitely a skill because it's something that can't really be taught. So I think it's something that requires you to develop it over time. So I think that's what will make us different, because right now anything that can be taught, almost technology will be able to do that for us.
Okay.
So yeah.
I think it's actually the ability to quickly understand something that is new in the market and how it works, not necessarily being able to do that. So like, for example, understanding if there's a new accounting system that works only with blockchain, for example, not knowing how blockchain works is fine, but understanding how it goes from A to Z.
Yes.
Because I think if you try to become an expert at one thing, it's going to become outdated quite quickly, or it's going to become improved where you're not an expert in that field. So it's rather, if you can get your head around how this works to do your own job, or that I think is going to be the most critical thing. It's being able to quickly adapt and see, okay, I don't understand this, but I know enough to know what's going on.
Yes.
And if you know, like being a jack of all trades of that, especially with technology, I think that for us, I mean, an IT specialist can't say that because they have to be quite good at something, but I think for us it would be the ability to just being able, and I think that's why everyone's scared, because if you know Excel really well, for the last 20 years you would have been absolutely great at 90% of things, but that's not going to be relevant anymore, being good at one thing. Yeah.
Good. Yes.
I think also adaptability. A lot of, especially in our profession, we don't like change. Like, we like stuff how they are, and if something changes, we're not always open to the change.
Quite right.
Because we like our comfort zones.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I think people who easily adapt to change, or like welcome it, or can kind of adjust within a reasonable amount of time, they're the people who are going to succeed, and people who are problem solvers. So who find a problem and they want to get at it. So like with math, the people who sit and they try to look for new ways to do it, to make it quicker, to kind of sit there and figure it out instead of saying, nah, it's fine, never mind, I'll go to the next thing. So the people who solve the problems are the people who are going to stay.
Okay.
I also think the people who can take it like one step further. So for example, technology does everything, but now you have the ability to go and, for example, communicate to somebody, this is why it's like this, like strategically saying like that. So I think that's what you need. So you don't stop by the technology and they do everything. You should be able to take that one step further and go out and make it more relevant to the people, because technology doesn't have that emotions and everything which humans do have. So for you, like technology can say anything you want it to say, but you need that emotional people's kind of skills. So I think that's what accountants also, because also people say accountants are like robots, so they need to start also getting that people skills where they can.
What is your understanding of technological literacy? It's what they call one of the 21st century skills that we should have, and one of it is technological literacy. What do you understand by that?
I think for me, isn't it how skilled someone is, or their ability to use technology effectively?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's about the interacting with technology. So how user-friendly or how user-friendly is it for you rather than it's overall. So that's what I think, like, do you know that, for example, Excel has certain functions, or whatever it is, Word, you can do certain things. So I think that's what I think it to be.
I think it's someone quickly able to learn something in technology. So not if you say Excel has a VLOOKUP function, you don't start like shriveling and everything. It's okay, it's being able to say, okay, I can learn this quickly because I have the basics of the tool itself. So I think someone who is literate in technology has basics of being able to use an application or learn something more advanced using those basics.
Okay, so with that in mind, do you think that our current students are technologically literate?
The average students.
The average student. The ones that are in front of you.
Okay, it depends.
It depends
In
on
terms
their
of
background.
also in terms of their studies, like for what they're expected to do, in terms of like just using your phone, doing social media, relating to their work, or
Relating to learning and relating to working.
Okay.
So not using your phone on social media just to WhatsApp or taking a selfie. So
Like basic word skills and that kind of stuff. I don't think that they have those. From, let's say, from first year when they walk in, I don't think that they have those.
Okay.
Even as third years. Because like when I was marking the assignments, it's the fact that some of them, like the ones that are literate, technologically literate,
Right.
you can see it. You can see they know what tools to use. They know how to do like formatting and stuff. Whereas the people who haven't really dealt with the computer a lot, you can see the difference. Like Excel, most people didn't use the formulas; they just retyped. And just the fact that you saw them it was third years, that was very interesting for me because you can see who is and who isn't,
Yes.
and majority is not at all.
Okay.
I know with like second years also, they don't like opening a video or watching something online. They'll always come and they want you to like tell it to them in class, or even if you say I'll upload the document, they're like, no, let us write it down. And then it's always, even in the chats, I'll be like, no, I'll upload this for you guys, and they're like, no, just say it again, let us write it down. I don't know if that's laziness or they just don't, because they also complain about the Wi-Fi at UJ. So that, but they just don't like opening documents on Ulink. So they're always asking us to like say it slower or do something like that.
So we're sitting here with this gap, we need to get these students to be viable in this very technological age that we are, more than just being able to use their phones. How do we bridge this gap? How do we get them there if, even in their studies, even in their learning, they're not able to use technology as we think they should be able to use it?
One thing which I think might help, because for me, if you do something once off, it doesn't stick.
Right.
Like we have Excel classes, we have Word classes like that once in the holidays.
Yes.
I feel like that's not helpful because I can't remember much from it.
Right.
So maybe have one function of Excel, like you have an assignment a week, and then you have to do that one little function, and then each week you do it something, and then maybe at the end you have all of it. Because it's like studying, you have to continuously do something, continuously interact with something to learn it. Because if you do something once off, then like 2 weeks later, I'm not going to remember what I did. So just to make it repetitive and not just in the one-time assignments or the one-time classes. I think we need to engross it in the actual course itself. To show the importance, and then they keep thinking about it, they keep doing it, then they'll be more comfortable, familiar.
Okay.
Sorry.
I know from a BCom perspective, they actually do a BIS subject, and the first semester focuses on Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and then the second semester focuses on Pastel. But what was nice is that they do right in the beginning, you get to write if you want to, you get to write like an assessment, and if you pass that assessment, it means that you already are competent, so you already know what Word is, Excel, PowerPoint, so you don't have to do it. And then the people that don't pass it get to do this over the semester. And in that semester, you do actually do assignments that you submit weekly. And what was also nice is that they gave you almost like a module, so that there is like this sometimes you do forget how to do a
Yes.
VLOOKUP, but then you can go and refer to the module because you've got like the steps.
Mhm.
So I think that is hugely important because for me I took it for granted because I had exposure to it already in school. So when I came to university I knew very comfortably how to work all of that. But then at varsity it's not realistic to think everyone will know how to. And what's nice is they do them in computer rooms so that you get the practical experience during the class. And then they have that function where the computer freezes and then the lecturer actually shows you how to do it. So I think that one's a good one in terms of like it kind of integrates what Morgan is saying into how they actually put it. I think also what's important is that they have to express the seriousness towards it.
Mhm.
So that one was like if you fail the subject, if you fail it, you do actually fail a subject and then you'll have to keep on repeating it. So I think something like that, it's better than just having a once-off class and there's nothing really linked towards it.
Okay.
I think, but also, so that's perfect to do it like that, but link it to the modules.
Okay.
So your specific subject, like finance, etc. Because those are the skills you're going to need when you get out to the firms. Because I know, like we have informatics in, which is similar to what they basically have, but they're doing with Excel, we're doing the coding.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people just see it as, oh, it's a subject I need to pass. They don't realize that I can actually use it in my studies. So if you rather, instead of just having it as a subject separately, incorporate it in all 4 subjects, where every week we've done capital budgeting this week. This week you have to go draw up a capital budget for your TAP for next week, for an assignment or whatever, on Excel that you have to have, and then your Excel skills also gets marked. I think because I mean we're moving away from doing capital budget by hand or doing evaluation by hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cycle's definitely also looking in the future at doing e-writing for ITCs. I mean, if we make one assessment in finance or in accounting, we do a groups question or something, say you have to do it on the computer, so you go write it in the computer lab like you would for like a BIS assessment or informatics, to just kind of emphasize the importance thereof.
So you say that there's a gap between how we expect them to learn and then how we assess them, because we expect all their learning materials to be electronic, and then we do not assess them that. Do you think that can be part of the problem that they're experiencing? So you know that a lot of our students sit in front of us and they mostly have a phone with them and they try to access their materials on their phone. Do you think that is possible to learn from this phone?
I don't.
Personally, no.
I don't think so. Just the logistics of it, the smaller screen, the moving around, the lack of concentration, the distractions, the notifications popping up.
And then the
yeah.
load shedding, if technology, if you know, like if your battery dies, that's it.
But just from a cognitive point of view, I don't think technology can get around the fact that as a human being, the way you need to be productive is to sit in a certain space and put your head down and work. And a phone, definitely, even a laptop has that element of distraction to it where paper and pen doesn't. So that's why I think most people prefer their summaries on a hard copy. But on a phone, it's virtually impossible, I think, because even if you put your phone in airplane mode, to go on to Yuling the next time, you're going to have to put it off, and then you're going to get 15 messages from your favorite WhatsApp group. And then the next thing is you're opening, and then your whole period of concentration is broken and has to be rebuilt every single time. So you might get through the work, but someone else will get through that work in half the time and better, because they sat in one full swing, whereas you were here and there and here and there. And I think it's a lot of people use it, but it is a bit worrying. I think it should be completely discouraged.
I think, but the students using it, it's their last resort.
Yes.
A lot of them have a laptop, but the laptop's battery lasts an hour. A class is an hour and a half. And I mean, so the whole no printing started in 2015 when we were first years. And the English class, because I was Afrikaans class, but the English class at class in B-Lace, and the only venues that actually have plugs at every desk is the D-Lab basement. No, none of the other venues have plugs, but I mean, we've been doing this for 5 years now, and there's still no progress for the students to be able to use their laptops in class. But now, so what happens is a student either sits with it on their phone because they can't afford to print it, or they just sit in class and look at you and maybe make notes on an exam pad.
I also think, as Anna said, that it's their last resort. I think sometimes it's also realistic to think that it's their only resort, resource, because I think especially if we're talking maybe UJ specifically, I don't think we realise sometimes, and I think I've been exposed to this more now having had this year, I don't think you realise that for us maybe sometimes we take for granted the fact that we, like you said, we have a phone, we have a tablet and we have a laptop. But I don't think a lot of students have access to that. Even to have a phone sometimes is really difficult, or one that will allow you to go onto Unix too. So I think that, and for me, I've had a student come and consult on a phone with a question and they're trying to like zoom in and out. And for me, that is like, you know what I mean, it makes my heart so I'm like, I'll just print it quickly on the printer. And, you know, I think that's almost to their disadvantage, and that's not fair. So I think there's,
So do you think we should then go back to providing the material on paper to our students?
That, or there has to be at least like a standard, when I mean a standard laptop, there must be one that, it must be that a conscious decision. People must take this laptop, review it, sit with it, work with it, imagine you being with it and say, can this last a student 3 years through their degree, where they can get their slides on it, get everything, and in this one, we as the university will take the decision that with the supplier we'll get this laptop, students can purchase this one because if you think it's also expensive, not as expensive, but it is also expensive to print out every time, because you're going to be saving every time on the printing, and then also you're going to get a lot of added benefits. But now if you put it out, like I think Eugene first year sends you an email about a few months before, or like a few weeks before orientation, and say there's a no printing policy, you need a smart device. Now smart device is quite ambiguous, because if you get even a good range tablet, it most of the time doesn't do the amount of things a laptop can do, because they only have a keypad, and the operating systems, even an iPad is the top of the range, but it runs iOS, and the laptops run the Macintosh system. So it's completely, now for that person can get slides, but if you give them an Excel assignment, it's almost tedious to now go and press, because they're going to have to go and press each cell. So I don't think enough thought is being given that let's push forward with this, but the amount of things needed to do A, B, and C is not as simple as saying they need a smart device. They need a specific one that can do the functions that are going to be asked of them, which I think people are overlooking a
so
lot.
I love what Sahal said, but I think it needs to even go just one step before that to say that, because students that I think battle the most are the students that obtain funding, okay? Because those are students that really have parents that can't help them. So I almost think that what they should do is, as a part of a first year package, that the laptop cost goes into that. Because when you receive funding, then the funders will know that we have to pay for this. And then from that, they would get it from first year. The university would obviously then have to put some form of insurance or something like that into place, because it is realistic to say that over the 3 or 4 years, they might get that laptop stolen, or there might be something that happens to this laptop. And then I think like there I agree that then at least every student from first year has a fighting chance to be on the same page as everyone else. Because I think by integrating it already at that starting point, it removes that anxiety for the student. You know, it becomes almost the funder's contribution towards it.
So it's almost, when you're a first year, your fees is 40,000 rand and it includes your laptop. Like, you can't buy it without it. You have to get this laptop that's linked to the UJ network, or, well, not linked, already set up. It works on the UJ network, you can print, you can do everything. And I think it should be kind of degree specific as well, because obviously someone that's studying IT will need a much better laptop than someone doing accounting versus someone who's doing graphic design. So it has to be course specific, but still it has to be a proper laptop for that student to be able to use it for 3 years.
And then what I also think is that you asked, the question you asked was, should we go back to printing? I think then what would be realistic is if there was like a 5-year plan to say that realistically we know that in our third years it's going to be, we can't start them off now. So from next year's first years we start them off with a laptop. So those, we stop printing them, but now we continue printing for second and third years. So that way we've already cut some costs because first years aren't printing, and then as it eventually within 5 years we should have resolved the issue completely, and then everything that we do like have a goal to achieve, we will be able to then implement it slowly. So from the first years, then second, and then third years.
Okay.
But I do think there still has to be some, I think you get R100 allowance or something per semester for printing.
Oh,
But-
no, really?
Yeah,
I mean, what can you print?
that's the thing, yeah. So
That's the thing.
something like questions, you can't do that on a computer. No matter how hard you try, it's you
Because that's
can't
what
practice
you
exam
do.
technique. That's the thing. It's different if you are going to write on a computer, you get in your paper electronically, but that's not realistic. You're always going to get your paper printed. So unless it's like, I know with board course we print 5 questions and then there's another 5 available online that you can download. So even if we just print half the questions for the students, or say here's 1 question per module, to do more you need to print the rest, or give them a credit on their account to print, or just something, because I think that's where we also not failing our students, but that's resulting in our students failing.
Yes.
Because now they can't practice it at home on how to do a good exam technique. We tell them you need to highlight, you need to do this,
Mhm.
but some of them don't even have a printed copy of it.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's good. What has been some of the most useful examples of technology-based learning that you've experienced?
I think, okay, well, we got exposure to it last year, and I think this year they've experienced a lot more, where the videos for me have helped so much, because especially I know last year the tax academic trainees did it a lot, and there was something so nice having, because they would do it normally when it was study break, so you would have had that week to study a lot of work, and then they'll do a quick video on clearing up a concept, and once you've done it and then you get this video again to just back up the knowledge, it was exceptional. And I know still the videos that we have, I remember how to do those different things, how you apply the consequences of it, because it just provides such good clarity. And what's nice is you can watch it over and over again, you can pause it, and then you can really see where am I experiencing the issue over here. So I really enjoyed the
I
videos.
agree. That was actually the one productive thing I actually did in December for ITC. Because they posted, and they didn't even have to do much, they just kind of had the required,
Yes.
and then they spoke about it. Okay, this is what the required was, guys, this is what happened, this is what you should have done, this is your thought process. And then I pause it and I'm thinking, okay, cool, then I go back to my paper, go read it, go highlight, and then I'm like, okay, cool, I get it. Then you go on to then you carry on with the video. And that's how you got the next required and the next principle.
Okay.
And that helped so much because you were interactive. Because you
Mhm.
paused, and then even if you want to ask questions later, you can, but there was no questions to ask because they covered everything, which was super nice. And that's why I don't understand why some of the students don't like videos.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
every time I say I'll post a video, and they're like, no, we don't want a video, we want a class.
Yeah.
But I'm like,
Yeah.
why not have a video that you can pause and I address all of the things, go through it? Because when I hate to test feedback, when I didn't have my paper, you just kind of broadly spoke about it, you didn't have time, everyone was asking questions, which do help sometimes, but sometimes you need to get through it so you can get it.
Yes.
So that's why I like the fact, that's why I tell my students, have everything in front of you, so when I'm going through it, you can see, are you that person who did this?
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Do all of you experience it that the students feel that we should not post videos, that they don't like videos?
I think I had this discussion with Roseanne about a week ago, and I said we need to be careful that in CTA we're giving material, so we print everything.
Yes.
And literally, even if it's a SICA document for open book policy, we will print it. We
Right.
will just put it on your link.
Yes.
But the amount of times we've had consultations where things have been addressed via U-Link or something was quite alarming.
Okay.
So it almost feels, I think it's coming in, there's 2 elements to this. It's one that, or 3 rather, it's one that the amount, maybe specifically for CTA, but the workload is quite a lot, so it's sort of a refusal from your mindset to say, I'm not going to take on more work and go and see where the issue is and correct it myself.
Mm-hmm.
The second one being, what the amount of material they get, subconsciously they assume that is the final product. When from our side, we're not intending that. There might be a video later, or a correction later, or something, or a voice note that we post that this is what you need to be careful of, and they don't take that final step. And the third one is just that they're not comfortable with it anymore because everything's printed. Okay, this is great, and I'm just going to work with that. So, and it's not that they can't access that, because when I took a look at we posted about 16 videos throughout this year for accounting only. The video we put on an approach to the second semester got almost a full cap of views, almost 400 and something students. But when I posted videos on intra-group transactions, it got less than 100. So it was almost as if people were like, I'm going to open up a new set of problems doing this. Whereas when I do the approach to it, they like, well, I just have to listen here and get some advice. I'm not going to have to do anything more. And I find that a bit weird, because like Morgan said, when I was in CT, I wish that Tuesday group class was actually just one big video. Instead, because you pitch up to class, you know you're tired, you're literally there just so you don't want to miss information. You're not, you can lie to yourself and think you're doing a lot, but you're not. You take,
even more exhausted.
and you go, and you go home and you're probably not going to do work because you've done 6 hours of looking at someone, which is, and a lot of people started missing those classes because they said, yes, it has a benefit, but going home and studying has more benefit because I know what I'm doing, and every single minute of that I am doing work. When sometimes in a class, if for example you're comfortable with this section of the question and half the class doesn't get it, for 10 minutes you have to sit and wait until the trainee gets back onto your point there. So it is a bit weird saying, but I think there's a bit of our new generation coming that there's this sort of, I don't want the accountability of having to go and do it on my own. If you didn't do it in class, shame for you, you didn't give it to us there. But it just seems that way, because the amount of times we've had consults where someone even came and said they spent an hour doing this question when the ULink announcement said only do this part of it. And I asked, why did you not? And they're like, we just check ULink for marks sometimes. So it is dangerous to see how quickly they can change, because all of them have done undergrad only through electronic, no printing. So it is.
And the thing is, I think there's 2 groups of students. You've got your students that embrace it, and you can immediately see who watched the video when you mark an assessment and you discuss something on a video. And you get good feedback from those students that say, yo, the video really helped, they've watched it. And then you get people that come to you at the end of the year like, I need help with exam technique or flagging, and I'm like, did you watch the video that we uploaded in February? They're like, no. I'm like, okay, go watch it, it'll help you.
I think also it becomes like, and it's so tricky, but it's true. I think when choice is involved, there's always like an issue. So I think if you say to a student, okay, I'm either going to do this now in the TAT or I'll upload a video, then students are always like, no. If you just tell them this will be uploaded, then there's less resistance. But in saying that, I think, and it's something that Prof. Aman's actually brought up, and I really love this idea, in saying that, why don't we go and say, TAT 1 and 2 will physically be at the venue, TAT 3, but from the beginning of the year, TAT 3 will be a video. That way students become comfortable that this is how it works. So it's the same as what Prof. Ahmed has said, is that normally, especially for accounting, it'll say, step 1, let's go through the module, then we attend class, like the process. Now he's saying, let's say within this module, go and watch video, whatever it's called, on ULink. I think that way also, it kind of eliminates what's the whole saying that we are experiencing, where students will come and say, oh, they didn't watch it, because they don't take it as seriously as they should. But I think if we had to enforce the fact that this video is available, it's in your module, let's go and watch it, then they'll start to take it more seriously and actually integrate it with their learning.
That's very weird, because if you read anything about this new generation, Gen Z, then one of the things is that they're actually self-learners. That's one of the things that they say, that they go to YouTube and they learn things themselves. My son is now 17. He watches so many YouTube videos, and it's like, it's not these, okay, some of the things are about gamers, I don't get, but anyway, other times he's watching, how do you code this, how do you do this, and this is this generation of students sitting in front of that, so it's almost like there's a bit of a disconnect between
this group and the ones.
I think I think one of the factors towards that is that the environment that you're learning in. So when you're in the university environment, you expect everything to be given to you in blocks, and then you must climb those blocks yourself. Then if you put a block on the side that wasn't part of the original, so don't give me that there. But I think if you at home, you can YouTube how to do a VLOOKUP, for example, and the next thing you can how to make Excel easier, and then the next thing you end up watching like how to code, and then you're interested in coding or something like that. So that environment is towards you building your own path. Whereas when something is given towards you in a structure, and we break that structure, but for your benefit, but still broken a bit, it seems that they're resistant towards that because, and I don't think we can blame them because the whole 3 years has been a very, and especially in BCom and CA streams, you don't make any choices in BCom, and you don't really have electives. I think maybe in BCom you might have 1 or 2, but it's not like a BA or anything where there's like 15 subjects, you can only choose 4. You have to think about what you want to do. You can choose whether to go for TATS, you can choose whether class is on a Monday or Wednesday. Especially for the BAC, everything is chosen for you. Your subjects are compulsory, your classes are all at one time, your TATs are compulsory, assignments are compulsory, and your tests are all in a certain manner. Now it's when like, go and do something on your own, you're like, but why? You've been telling me what to do. Why should I go and do something else now that's optional? And I think it's more a cognitive behavior than actually a decision that's saying, I don't want to go and watch this video.
I think it's maybe a usability thing or the ease of use. To click on YouTube, it's 2 seconds and you're in. But with Blackboard, especially if you want to access it on your phone and you log into your link, then you're trying to get those notifications to close and you're not getting it closed. So by the time you actually get to Blackboard and onto your module, you're like, I'm not going to do this now.
When I spoke to some of the students, they also complained, they're like, sir, such a long video, it's using all our data. So I'm like, but at UJ you have Wi-Fi, and they're like, the Wi-Fi is not very reliable. And as a student, I also experienced that the Wi-Fi at UJ is not reliable. So to download such a big video, it's like using your data, and they don't want to use their data to download a video.
And I think it's also the perspective of learning to them, because like YouTube, like coding and that, it's like things they do in their personal and their spare time, so they find it fun. Whereas videos of varsity, not so fun. So I think they've separated the two. That's maybe why there's a disconnect, because they see personal life and they see varsity. Instead of seeing it as you need to kind of intertwine them. Because if you just think about varsity like that, then you're so like limited. But if you like embrace it and you actually want to do well and you want to understand, then you watch videos and you want to go figure it out. Whereas this generation, I see that they just want to learn like, or it's even previous generations like parents, they just want to know, tell me what it is, I'll write it down, I want to pass, that's it. So I think I know educational time with you, we need to like go away from that. But also from school days, you're not really, I don't think there's videos in school. So like also the way they've been learning for years and years, and now you're suddenly changing it, like Sahil said.
Sorry, last thing, I think it needs to be kind of more intuitive. So when you watch a YouTube video, it predicts something that you can watch. But if you can do a similar thing on our learning platform where it says, instead of just predicting something, saying, how do you feel about impairment? Do you want to watch something to revise the basic principles? And you can tick yes, no. Then the next one it says, oh, I see you did badly in the groups assignment. Do you want to watch a quick revision video on, where it kind of entices the student like, maybe I should look at this. Maybe I should look at that. It could help me. Or a more personalized.
That's not going to work in Blackboard.
No, it'll never work in Blackboard. But I mean, yeah, so why I'm saying that is,
you also get a big base of videos.
but I mean, you build on it through the year. It doesn't have to be long videos. I mean, it can be 3 minutes just explaining the recoverable amount for impairment or something. We noticed now with our research, we used mail merge to send each student an individualized email with their name. And the response rates, I think we had 427 responses now out of 450.
Sure.
Because it says, hi Roseanne. Instead of just saying, hi, please remember to fill out the survey, it says, hi Roseanne or hi Sanda. And then the students say, oh, we really, someone
And then they
I'm
reply,
really sorry we haven't yet, just by putting their name there.
Oh, wow.
So it could even be like, hi, whoever it is, I've seen you haven't watched the video yet.
Yes.
That could also be then accountability. Because I think it does link very much to that, where it's like what Sahil said is, if you say to me in class, I will
and
learn
even if
it,
they just
and
forgot,
if you
like,
don't,
then
it could be. But it's like the students say, if it's in a video and I haven't watched the
You
video,
can
that's
do
your
that with
fault,
the
not
steps,
their
right?
fault.
Just ask
So-
what you can.
Yeah.
So just getting back to your comment, you say that everything is very structured. So, and then when we try to break the structure, that's when they struggle to adapt to that. So, how do you think we can change that? What can we do to?
I think it's just it's gonna be, it has to be a very cultural type of thing. I think from first year, just saying that this, like even this year with CTA, they had an essay on the fourth industrial revolution. Now that still, for me, is a bit of a problem. You telling them to write an essay, you basically telling them go back to matric and here's your topic. I don't, okay, that person might have slightly more information about the fourth industrial revolution, but a 6-minute YouTube video probably would have done the same thing. So I'm not getting, I think what needs to be done is, if you're saying, there needs to be a list of objectives saying, okay, we want to get our students more involved with technology. How are we going to, there's so many different channels, and I think what's dangerous is that we're saying, let's do the videos, let's do the Excel, let's do the Pesto, let's do this, let's do that. And then they're accessing different channels, but it's not focused to where we want them to be. There's different avenues, I think, of technology learning, and some will be better than others, depending on where we feel the students will need to be in the marketplace. So if we feel that, example, we need them to be very comfortable with Excel, then right from first year, it needs to be that instead of, like for example, every TAT then has to be uploaded with Excel, for example, or just saying, guys, if you upload it through Excel, automatically, it's like, I think we had it in Commerce 100. If you just gave in your TAT every week, you got 10% semester mark at the end of the year. So say if you upload it through Excel for every subject, your TAT mark is, it doesn't matter if you got the answer wrong. We want you to be, then it needs to be building on that. In second year, for example, then say this is with groups or something, we want you to work with this in this way, with the template like this, and then moving on like that. It shouldn't be where guys, let's let them do Excel for first year with the tapping, then we completely forget about it until third year when they have to do the PwC one. Because I think then almost the first year becomes almost completely irrelevant at that point. So it has to be, I think, ironically very structured, but just as part of the process, not just a slapdash, guys, we feel that this will be great. And that works again with the task, like Roseanne said, let's put it as part of the program. So like this year would have been a bit difficult because the recording studio came this year only. But like already for accounting next year, it's part of our intro module. The following videos will be available on Ulink, and we've chosen from this year which ones we felt were the best already. So it's that I mean, I think it has to be a continuous thing, because the 4 years from now will probably be much better than if you start implementing next year. And it has to be an acceptance that that's just the way it is. We can't, it's not like fixing a syllabus and saying this is what Saika said we must do. It has to be, this is the only way we can get going, but the only way to get going is by taking the first steps. And then in 4 years' time it will be much better than what it was, but still with a lot to do, and so on and so forth. But I just think at the moment, the whole university, it's just like 4IR, and then let's just talk about it and speak about it and do something about it. But if you even ask me, up until the CA conference that we went for, 4IR was like a big cloud thing. It's not like, there's so many things, until one of the speakers said, you don't need to know everything about 4IR. Stop thinking you do, because you won't and you can't. And if you do, you will be even more replaceable than the person who doesn't know. Because the person who doesn't know will say, oh, I need to learn this and learn it. But they'll learn one thing. And you will try to know everything so well, and you will just you will fall back, because 10 people will become experts in the 10 fields you know 1% about. So I think it has to be really part of the program, but people need to sit down and say, these are our objectives. Not just saying, this is what's available. It's like social media, it's available, but does it give you enough benefit? If you use it for marketing and networking a lot, if you use it during study break, you saw that your cousin had a new baby, but like, that is a benefit, but not the best thing you could have done. So just because something has a benefit, I don't think we should just do it.
second last question, I just want to know, so you are now on the other side, so you had the opportunity to also teach now. So did you use technology in your teaching, and if you did, what did you do?
Okay, so obviously we did videos, but one thing, so from a student's perspective, and then now from my side as well, is using stuff like Mentimeter in a class to quickly get a sense of, do the students understand something, or what do they think this means? And we try to use it a lot in our module as well, and I know some of them also did. I think it makes it more interactive for the students, because one thing I noticed is on this side, like, you know, when you're a student and you're like, 10 minutes left in the class, where on the lecturer side, you're like, I've still got 20 minutes that I need to do, and you're like hyper and active, and the students are just looking at you like, come on, finish this. You're like, I've got so much more that I want to tell you guys, come on. And at the moment you make it more interactive for them, we had a lot of fun with them. Okay, this was not technology necessarily, but we used attendance registers in our group classes, and then we'd randomly pick people, and then we detected that people signed for each other, but it then became a game in the class, because now we'll try and pick the ones that, you know, are not actually there. And then if we pick someone that's there, they need to answer a question, or you know, to make it a lot more interactive with the students.
Was that electronic attendance registers?
No, that was
manual.
ones,
Okay.
yeah.
But I mean, we could
But it could,
Yeah.
it would be easier electronic. It was just
we needed the hard registers to be
to yell them, yeah. Yeah, and the thing is, so the Ulink attendance was not working for a big part of the year when they upgraded Ulink, and then it's just frustrating when you're in class and you need to, so we just decided.
Okay.
But yeah, I think,
I think also from my side, sometimes I think it's taken for granted because there are all these different options available, but something like PowerPoint, that also falls into the technological sphere, and there what I would do, like when I lectured my slides, they wouldn't be full, so I would put like a lot of things, and then you'd actually have to interact with me to get like, what does this mean, okay, make a note on it, because I feel like when students have a fully comprehensive piece of paper, they just like, oh, I've got it here, that's okay. But for me, what I uploaded and what I would give to them was just the bare minimum, and then we would interact and speak about it, and they made notes. So I think that also helped by just setting up my technology, being my slides, in a way that would then encourage them to interact with me, so that they could get the best out of that class.
Not any of usual stuff, but I use my iPad and then from CT, and I have an Apple Pencil. So I use Notability again. And what I liked about that was I didn't have to worry about my handwriting or having 6 different highlighters, because I wanted to make 6 different points. And also I can upload that straight onto Ulink. So especially if I say, guys, I need you to listen here and not take a note, then that used to happen to us in class, but then when it gets uploaded, you completely forgot what's happening. Now I'm uploading the exact same thing that I'm dealing with in class. So even the workings and that, it just goes straight onto Ulink from there. That I felt was quite a big help. And also, it's a small thing, but when you're using a doc-cam, you always have to make sure that you're uncovering any part of the information, or if you want to turn back or switch across, like I have to take the question out and bring the solution in. Now if I'm using the iPad, I literally have to I can combine the documents and just scroll, which it's a small thing, but it makes a big difference, because especially if someone didn't have the material or didn't do a question or did it but is still not following, for them or if they only brought their question to class and not their solution, and it just makes it has a lot of different advantages for doing that small ones, I think, and not just get the videos in that, like everyone said.
I didn't use technology as much. Like I did the videos, I did slides, but what I saw a lot is that students liked my handwritten notes. Like I see them, they print it out even, and I'm like, I think even in class, if a tutor kind of wrote it down and like went it through with us, it really did help. Like I go through it with them, I show them this is what you do, this is the planning you do. A lot of them enjoyed that. So I didn't really see any other, like Mentimeter I wanted to do as well, but sometimes you just don't have time. The problem of time, we want to do all these great things, but we have so much on our plate, and to actually get it to be more quality than the higher quality we want to. It's quality, but not like with all the Mentimeters and stuff. If you don't have time, sometimes that's the first thing you're going to throw out because you just want to get the basics in there. So I didn't use technology as much this year, besides the videos.
Okay, so just lastly, do you think that it is possible to learn with technology, and if it is, what would you need in order to be able to do that?
Have those students as concepts.
So I think it's definitely possible because it's a logistic of learning. It's a vehicle, so it's different. It has a lot more tools. I think that's the problem. It's not like with pen and paper. There's only so much you can do, but you could do diagrams, and you could do mind mapping, and you could do summaries, and you could do paragraphs, but not everyone chooses to do all. And I think that's where people are getting confused. They want to do every bit of technology instead of what they feel is the best. I think what you need, but the difference between what you need to learn is there's a lot of prerequisites for technology, including the device, the connection, and the ability to access it properly. Without those, I think it's absolutely pointless sometimes. You rather stick, for now it's still available to go what's tried and trusted for the student's point of view. If there is not that available, there's no point bridging that. It's like almost building the end of the bridge when you don't have the middle section complete already. At some point someone's going to fall and it's going to be quite catastrophic. So rather continue with an olden day method for now. The work is still getting done. We're not yet in a point in time where if you're still with pen and paper, you're outdated completely. You will still be able to function. You will still be able to learn those skills in the workplace. But I think in like 2 or 3 years time, if you still can't get Wi-Fi in Belias and you still can't get onto Blackboard properly, and that's the way the university's chosen to go, then that's quite a big problem, especially with the background of students that we have. And I think it's unfair as well, because you can't be expected to be this person not being given the tools to able to learn.
I think coming from like an educational place is that if you think back to like, let's say grade 4, when most of the schools bring in like a learning like skills kind of person, and they say to you, okay, because that's when you start writing exams, and they say this is how you can study, and then one shows you do bullet points and one shows you a mind map, and then you're quite confused. But then not everyone, like so I was saying, not everyone does the mind map, not everyone, but you choose what works for you. And I think maybe the awareness could also become quite important here, is to say these are the ways, like what Zana said, where you first year you make that little type note, second year you can use that document to add on, now you just have a new printed note. So like awareness of how can you use technology to your advantage, and these are the things that I use it for. I think that could then really assist in using technology in order to study, in order to really make your life easier. So I think it would have to be there would be some people that would have to become dedicated to actually doing these things to make students aware of how it can really make your life a lot easier.
I was going to say the university needs a IT support center almost for where they kind of do courses for the students, but also if your laptop doesn't want to connect to the Wi-Fi. I know Podge does that with their race students, where you can just hand them your laptop, they set it up for you on the network and everything you need, and then you collect it and your laptop's ready to use the network. Because I think we've got all these how-to guides on Blackboard or Ulink on how to set it up, but you can't access that guide if you can't connect to the Wi-Fi. And a lot of people, they take it for granted that students don't understand necessarily how this works. Like they get this new laptop, and I'd ask them to create an account. And like, an account for what? They haven't even got the laptop on yet. So if they can kind of have a support system from that side.
Even if we go back to the university, had like standard laptops, so that for students, they could make it like in orientation week. Guys, we all setting up the laptops now, follow what's me. Have like 6 or 7 on tutors on the assistants on the side, and say, okay, who is not connected to the Wi-Fi, and then when everybody walks out of there, they know how to use Ulink, Blackboard, they have Excel, everything installed, and then it reduces a lot of anxiety that, and also your mindset is now, this is how I need to move forward. Whereas now it's, you know what, it's there, but it's not there for me.
Yes.
Someone else can use this Wi-Fi at home. I'll stick to my pen and paper.
Yeah, and the simple thing is, for example, you get Office for free as a student with your student email. I know as a student, I struggle to download it. And I thought to myself, like, if I struggle, like, your average student will just give up and they're just like, you know, I'm just not going to download it. Because, like, for a period of time, the link on Ulink was incorrect.
For informatics, we had to download that very weird
Visual
software.
Basic,
I had a Mac, and the guy was just like, no, you have to go to the iStore. And I mean, it took like 3 steps and I got it onto my laptop. Well, 3 steps took 3 days to figure out. I mean, it shouldn't be like that. I didn't ask to do this course, and ultimately it's not like I really remember much from informatics anyway. But I mean, now to ask someone to either go to the labs every time they need to do an assignment, or to download Windows 10 and then Visual Studios and then install it, it is a bit of a stitch, considering that most people really haven't switched on a laptop or their own personal laptop.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think, so I know my brother and them, they were taken to the labs at the beginning of the year to learn Blackboard, which is fine, but show the student on their own laptop. Because now you show them on the lab, which is a different Windows than the Windows the student has, and rather have people in that venue where the students sitting with their laptops. I mean, it's going to be standard no matter which Windows you have, but the student will experience it differently because they've got a different browser. Or tell them you need to go download Chrome. I know a student emailed me in May saying the whole year they haven't been able to access Blackboard, and I'm like, okay, which browser do you use? And they used Internet Explorer. And no one told them that they can't use it, so they just thought, okay, Blackboard's
and for us,
offline.
we just use it as a default, so it doesn't.
Yes,
we don't even register that could be a problem.
Thank you so much for your insight.